it means that to have a layer usually made out of, it could be anything, foam. Sometimes it is a natural fabric like linen or cotton, like they would have in the interlining here, but then it is glued. Literally, they use a type of glue, adhesive, to literally stick it to one, usually only one of those layers, of the outside layers. So usually they will stick it to either the layer that touches the neck, the skin, the cast or whatever, and then, or it will be glued to the outside layer that is seen. And because it is glued, it cannot, he says, it cannot be starched using a liquid starch, or i.e. at least a traditional starch, which is usually made, which ought to be made, I mean homemade, prepared, as in not like a fresh fruit juice, which has been made at max in the mellow and then max consumed in the evening. Usually it could be consumed within an hour of having it been made. The same thing for the starch. Usually has to be used right away after being made. One takes a starch powder and mixes it in with water. Quantities made out for different effects, and then starch it. Well, it is true and false. It can be used for fused colors, but fused colors all differ. For that shed, for instance, it was alright, although I knew it was fused. Because I can actually see, I cannot show it, but basically this is like a tiny shed boson, 3 layers. And it is literally like a tiny shed boson from here to here. It doesn't look stiffer. And in fact, in some very early 1880s sheds, some 1880s, 1890s sheds, they had a tiny shed boson. But obviously the interlining would not have been fused. Actually, there is an example upon eBay, still for sale. In Salem, does not manage to sell it because the shed is incredibly damaged. It has a tiny shed boson. A bit, it is very long, but very tiny, because it was the fashion to have very narrow coats and especially waistcoats, and so the bosom of the shirt would be very thin. They also made detachable bosoms like so. So again, this can be sort of accurate, but what I mean is, on that shirt, it actually is not stitched there, or even the other side, and one can sort of reverse. It is only held by the buttonholes and the buttons on the other side, if that makes sense. And one can see how the fuse is inside without actually unbuckling the stitches. And it is, I fancy, a natural material. At least it has some natural components to it. It is not a foam. It must be a sort of linen, either pure linen or linen that's mixed with cotton, or cotton that's mixed with polyester, or polyester that's mixed with linen, or mixture of the 3 of them. And then it is glued onto, it is glued onto the top layer that is seen, but then this top layer is also reversed, and so it creates a thick layer. But in some cheap models, and what I fancy is usually the case, perhaps even more today, although I do not own any shed, or wear any shed, so I do not know that have been made in less than 20 or at least 10 years. I think my most modern shed must date from 2010. I got it second hand, and it is right now in France. Perhaps it was made before, perhaps it was made in 2010, but anyhow, it does not represent the majority of sheds, since it is a high quality of dress sheds as per modern standards. But I do have this, which must be around 20 years of age, and which is very damaged. And being vastly damaged, the cuff is basically wearing out completely, and so one can actually examine the inside, and one can see that this is actually a foam. This is actually a bloody foam in the interlining there. The cuff is literally falling apart there at the edges. It has worn out so much, and then one can see it is actually a foam, literally like a pillow foam, like they put into pillows. And this has been glued onto the side that shows, to make that side look naturally starched, even when it is not so at all. And that is the reason for which I remember my father, when I was a boy, he would go to work in Wales, thought he was an oncologist. So it would have these colors, and this was in like early 2000s. And even myself, I still own these shirts that I used to wear as a boy, and they look, I mean, they are soft, the color is soft, except it's starched with a can bottle or whatever. But actually, if one forgets about how the texture feels and one simply looks at it and forgets the feeling once one touches it or wears it, it looks almost as starched as a very highly starched, very stiff, plywood-like antique or antique-like copy, shirt, bosom, collar, detachable collar, attached collar, whatever. But really it is not. And that is due to the interlining. All that is that he says, Helen White, that they cannot, if they have a modern interlining. So basically this is the trick. If you have an antique shirt with no adhesive, it can be starched with a modern can bottle, can starch, can off starch. It will never be as hard as, actually it can be as hard as that, but it will be just a waste of time. But at least he says we makes it understandable that a shirt with adhesives, so cuffs, bosom, collars, whatever, with adhesive interlinings, things that's literally glued onto, the adhesives, cannot be starched with the liquid starch, at least if really it's just made, prepared, cooked, just prior. Well, this is false. It can. I mean, I've done it with this. It can, but there will be issues, and so it should ideally not be done. Now, it is possible that with his Darcy branded washable collars that obviously have an adhesive interlining, it is possible that he tried it and it did not work because he used other fabrics, another type of glue, another type of fabric to adhere to the glue as the interlining. I never owned or even saw in real life one of those Darcy collars. I only saw them upon the website or upon his videos, so it is possible. But I fancy that it is also possible that they would be starched, they would be heavily starched, even using a very traditional method. But there would be problems, as there have been for that shirt. And this shirt, bear in mind, I will just show. Was starched with this. This is Staffler. It only comes nowadays, it only comes in that type of bottle. It is a 1 liter, I think. 2 quarts, no, a bit more, 1 liter, 8 to 9 milliliters. So almost 2 liters of Staffler. So what this is it says 1 bottle, so 1 bottle like that equals, has literally been tested in America. When used according to label directions, this product equals, on average, 7 to 22 OZ cans of starch. OZ means pounds, so 7 to 22 pounds. I'm not sure what this converts into kilograms. I learned the kilogram weighs, but it basically equals a lot of those. It equals a lot of dose, and this would be one of the best cans of starch to get. This is a spray, but still this is not an actual made starch. But anyhow, sort of see where the things are going on now. So yesterday I dipped it into undiluted Staffler, which really what it looks like is, it looks like actual starch, a starch powder that has been boiled. Not just cooked, boiled. If it has been boiled, per all manuals, it becomes thick, like thick jelly. And dense, like actual jelly, and it cannot be used as jelly. I mean, you could not